because I put myself in those shoes. I'm like, damn, like, how's he going to write a cool book? But then all of a sudden at the end of this episode, like, damn, this book's going to be good.
Hey sports nerds, welcome to Nerdie Bug Review of Ted Lasso Season 3, Episode 2. My name's English Dave, and crosses the ball so I can score with my face is my co-host, Tim Sportsman. What's up, Tim?
What's up, Dave? Dude, March is mad. Absolute madness right now. I love it. I was actually watching NBA last night. The Warriors had a sick comeback win versus 76ers. And Embiid, I just wanted to check his MVP status. I'm like, this dude's balling, just muscling Draymond Green all over the place. But I know we're here to talk about some football.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I was going to tell people, this is why, those who are asking, Tim's last name is not Sportsman. I won't tell you his last name. That's a secret you can try and find out. Not that it's anything. It's just a cool secret to find out. But his name is Tim Sportsman because Tim, out of nowhere, will start talking to you about any sport. Doesn't matter. He's in. He's interested. He's down. Talk about sport. He is in. So feel free. Send us messages at the Nerdie Bunch. Any of your sports questions. Challenge him. I think I mentioned this before. Find a sport that he doesn't know. He'll still have a conversation with you about it. All right, Tim, like you said, we are here to talk about Ted Lasso Season 3, Episode 2, sorry. Full spoilers ahead if you don't know by now, but you should. Tim, you finally got a game. You're like, oh, I hope they play a game.
Yeah, we did. We technically did, but it was one of those super sped up highlights where you only see both goals. But it was okay. It was pretty lame, honestly. If I just take everything out of the episode except for the pitch, what was on the pitch, I'm like, it was all right. I get it.
How would you rate Chelsea's defending? Their tactics.
Absolute fact. Yeah. I mean, it was purposeful. It was like Jack Hughes, he's dribbling down, passes it to Jamie Todd. Jamie Todd crosses it over to Sam. Sam hits the crossbar. And did it cut out? I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
Oh man, Sam hits the crossbar, and then it hits off of Danny Rojas's face. It's like, oh, I scored with my face. I scored with my face.
He first went from almost scoring with his face. It's like, I almost scored with my face, and then he actually scores with his face. I did like Jamie's tactics of like, I know what they're doing. They're not marking us. They're pulling blah 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 blah. Yeah. I was like, Chelsea, that was terrible defending.
Just keep dribbling. They're blocking the passing. Which, all right, that's actually real. So I appreciate that. That was not, fed. Made up, but it was just, I mean, come on, the whole face a little too corny. I get it, Ted Lasso, that type of show, but it was a little too corny.
One of the big things that came out of this game was the introduction of new character, Zava. Everyone loves Zava or is scared of Zava. Everyone's fighting for Zava. Rupert is fighting for Zava. Rebecca wants Zava because Rupert wants Zava. Continue Rebecca's narrative in terms of just wanting to just destroy or be better than Rupert in every way. What do you think of the Zava storyline and just the Zava character and Zava joining the team? What do you think about all of that?
Well, I mean, I think it's almost a perfect connection to Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Exactly. Has to be. It's not even subtle. It's like those South Park, snippets where they're clearly talking about a person, but they're like, "Oh, you never know." I'm like, no. Zava's like, "It's a pleasure for you to meet me," type of guy. I'm like, yeah. But honestly, we'll fast forward to Rebecca in the bathroom talking to Zava. Yeah. Oh my god, that was perfect. I actually literally have the entire quote. And he's just sitting there pissing the whole time. Yeah, I'm like, damn, this guy is properly hydrated.
Right? I was like, how long are you peeing for? Oh my goodness. Yeah, no, I'm gonna find it interesting in terms of what it will do to the dynamic of the team going forward. It doesn't look like Jamie was too happy about it. Right, you see Jamie's reaction, like, oh. but others are excited about it. Others are like, oh, Zava, oh my God, Zava. They get excited when they were hearing about it at first. They just like all the miscommunication. Also, like, can I tell you, we've talked about this before, and I think it continues to be so, even though he hasn't had a real narrative focus yet. Higgins and just the little moments of Higgins are just the best.
Yeah.
His whole story of like how he knows that Zava was going to go to Chelsea. He knows someone who knows someone who knows someone's aunt, uncle. I forget the exact quotes.
I have a reliable source. Exactly. This person. Oh, but this person wasn't even in there. And
Right, right.
the person who took over their job for the day can read lips. And he
Right.
said Chelsea a lot. It's like, okay. And then Rebecca's like, go back, check on it again. And he's like, well, yeah, it looks like West Ham got it.
Right,
Looks like
yeah,
Rupert won it yet again.
yeah. And yeah, we talked about Rebecca and Rupert. That meeting in the hallway. You just understand. He's such an asshole. Like it just gives me tingles, just how he is and just how he pushes buttons and stuff like that. And it just bothers me. Not necessarily a problem for the show. I like it's a good character
Hmm.
narrative, but it bothers me that she just allows him to pull her strings so much. Even when she's trying to defeat him, quote unquote, she's doing so
Yeah.
because of him, not
Yeah.
because of her own. Like she didn't care for Zava until she heard that he
Mhm.
might want to go to West Ham, and she's like,
West Ham.
ah.
That's
So I was
perfect.
just like, come on, Rebecca, you're better than him, and which made me happy about that scene in the bathroom
Mhm.
because you see that moment of strength for her, right? It's
Exactly.
it's 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 not because she's someone who's strong and she knows it, but every time when it comes to topics about Rupert, she somehow thinks she's weak. Because he still has this grip on her. She tells
Hmm.
that whole story about his charm and how he's persistent and he got her and things like that, and she still feels. I don't think she feels emotions for him in terms of she likes him or anything like that. She just feels like, how could I have fallen for this ridiculousness? Because now she can watch from the outside in. And, she kind of beats herself up when she shouldn't need to. So I like seeing this, her kind of almost her win in this situation. But I'm curious to see the narrative going forward. Is it a good one? Because again, you don't know what you picked with Zava. Zava's not exactly, I don't see him exactly being team spirit, even though I like that speech she gave Zava in terms of convincing him, like, oh, you can go to any team, win easily. Why don't you come for a challenge? Almost belittling yourself
That's
to
what I'm
kind of.
saying. I'm like, dude, I literally wrote down the entire scene right there. It was perfect. She just went right into him. And because she knows that personality so well,
Hmm.
she's like, I know exactly how to poke your ego and question, do you still got it? Or are you still old and you overpaid? And, you don't even need, like, West Ham doesn't even need you, man. They don't even need you. But you could go to a team like Richmond and actually make a difference.
I did like that. I did.
It
And
was
playing to
huge.
his
It's the
ego
best.
definitely was a great way to do it. And I just imagine. Can you imagine at the press conference when the player is just about to sign, and it's like, I changed my mind, and just has to leave.
For
He,
sure.
he takes the pen, right?
Yeah. No, it was perfect. So the Chelsea owner was so surprised when Zava asked, like, "Hey, can I keep the pen?" He's like, "Sure." Like he's just like, "I don't even know like what to do right now." He was like,
Okay.
"Well, who cares about this draw? Who cares about this? But I got huge news. Zava is coming to Chelsea." And then he's like, "Well, can I talk for a second?" And then I love when the West Ham owner, well, Rupert, obviously. Rupert's sitting in his limousine or his car, and he's like so excited, especially when Zaba's like, "Yeah, by the way, I'm not going to Chelsea. I'm signing with dot dot dot." He's like, "Oh, of course, got to be West Ham." Even like Rebecca walks out, so it's a little corny scene, but but it works perfect. And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden he's like, "No, Zaba's going to Richmond." It's like,
It's like, oh shit. Um,
yeah,
Speaking of Chelsea, I want to unpack that because you get a lot from
sure.
Roy this episode.
Mhm.
One, we get at least confirmation that Roy is the one that initiated the breakup. To everyone's surprise, I love everyone's shock. Like I broke up with her.
Yeah,
Why? Especially
yeah,
Coach Beard.
yeah. Oh, his gasp was perfect.
But and we also find out like there's a lot of trauma from Roy's past. One
Hmm.
for his decision to leave Chelsea. We find out get his reasons why he left, and he's kind of almost. And I like the double, the kind of subtext to that because he talks about leaving Chelsea. I made the decision because I was scared. Maybe I shouldn't have. But he's also talking about Keeley at the same time. I made the decision to leave Keeley, and I wish I
Hmm.
didn't have. And then you unpack why he's mad at Trent and why he tells everyone, "Don't tell him nothing." Because Trent wants to write a book, even though everyone's telling Ted, "Don't say no, say no, say no." Ted's like, "You know what? Yes."
Yeah.
I love that scene. But what do you think of that scene of Roy after Ted tells Roy, "Hey, you need to sort this out. Tell the team to start talking to him." And Roy tells Trent his story about why he's so mad at him. Yeah, and you can unpack that when you let me know. What did you think of just that whole moment of seeing another vulnerable side to Roy, right?
I think the shower scene was perfect. You know, like Trent walks in, whole team gets quiet. Jamie has this cool idea about, what they're going to do in the second half. And then the whole team goes silent. And then Ted talks to Roy. He's like, yo, Roy, by the way, like, you got to fix this. And then Krim comes in to Roy. It's like, hey, Krim, let's talk. And he pulls a little newspaper clipping right out of his wallet, shoves the wallet right in his chest, and just reads the line. He's like, newcomer Roy Kent is an overhyped so called prodigy whose unbridled rage and mediocre talent rendered his Premier League debut a profound disappointment.
Oof,
Like, that's rough. And
oof,
Roy's like, I was only 17, man.
oof.
That killed me. And I put myself in that position. If I was 17, that would absolutely destroy me. Probably would kind of destroy me now. I think what I love about sports shows in general is kind of getting that behind the scenes look, whether it's Krim writing a book about this team or those like behind the scenes narratives like Jamie and Roy and Keeley, and then how's like Rebecca talk to Ted and like that whole like narrative behind the scenes. And like obviously we already mentioned there was really only two clippets of the match itself. It's really all about behind the scenes stuff. What's the motivations? Why does somebody actually want to sign somebody? Why was Kyrie actually brought in to join with Luka Doncic? I want to see the behind the scenes stuff of that, which is why I love these books because you get those snippets. And then it was so tough to see Trent not being able to get anything because I put myself in those shoes. I'm like, damn, like how's he going to write a cool book? But then all of a sudden at the end of this episode, like, damn, this book's going to be good.
Right, right.
Yeah, like he's got the Roy connection. He's got Ted's lines. I mean, the writing itself's perfect. Rebecca's intentions of signing Zava, and then Zava coming to the team. It's like, damn, this is going to be a really, really good book.
Right,
So I'm
right.
excited for the book. But from Roy Kent's perspective, he knew he was washed at the end, and it was so sad. He's like, I don't want to go out like one of these guys. But then he switches on himself. He's like, you know what? It's not my personality, but I wish I like took it in and could enjoy the time while I was there.
Hmm.
And then Ted's like, yeah, it may not be you yet, but like you can become this.
Hmm.
And I thought that was very, very powerful.
And you speak about reasons for why people do things and why things happen. What I liked also in that scene is Trent. There wasn't a pushback from Trent, right? Trent, you really understand. This is the one scene where
Mhm.
you understand that Trent's motives here are genuine. He's not doesn't have any ulterior motives. He's not here to slander the team. He's genuinely, no matter what his past, he's genuinely trying to do something good here. And he even admits, he apologized and he admits why he did it. It was nothing personal. He was also young. He was trying to be provocative, trying to do new things, and you almost get this moment of both of these guys have aged in this world together. And he's like, look at us now. And
Yeah.
I love seeing that, because it's not like Trent's one of those reporters that's like, yeah, I said what I said back then, and I stand by it. He regrets what he did. He feels bad for what he did, and you almost get that connection, and if you solidify this connection between Trent and the team now, which other stories would have dragged out for like 5 episodes, to really
Yeah.
punish Trent to join the team, but in terms of in this capacity. So I really liked seeing that. And like you said, just seeing the perspective of why people are like a certain way.
Yeah.
Roy, like I said, he was 17. It's a different perspective. And I like what Roy's perspective influences the story in terms of last season when he was a pundit talking about it. He would criticize the other pundits saying, guys, like you're in here talking all this shit when these players are the ones who are feeling it out there. He's the one that reminds us in that perspective that these players are human. They may be sports stars to us, but they're human. They have emotions, they have feelings, they have anxieties. That's your first game you ever played, and then this reporter's talking this shit about you. You probably went into this game super excited, like, yeah, I could do great. And that's the
Yeah.
first thing that said it. Of course, that's going to stick with you. And I love seeing that. I thought that was really great. Um, one of the beeline storylines this episode was Keely and her job. Still curious where that direction's going as overall. But we get a narrative that involves what the HR person Barbara
Barbara.
with very many snow globes, and
Mhm.
through the narrative with her friend Shandy, she almost like breaks a barrier that Barbara had up. There's this kind of wall between them, and in reminding Barbara that it's all if you sometimes people just need a chance. They may not have the best qualifications, they may not have the best know-how, and that's almost been a theme from the start. Ted himself, right? He wasn't the best
Yeah.
qualified, he wasn't the best thing, and even Keely herself, she got places because people believed in her despite her qualifications, her background. So, what do you think of that whole narrative with Keely, Barbara, and newly introduced Shandy?
Yeah, the best line when, Keely speaks to Barbara, she's like, "Well, maybe we could both believe in somebody together." And
Mm-hmm.
Barbara's definitely that type of person that hired by a company, go in, make sure the finances are right, don't get yourself emotionally tied in. Here's a bunch of other people who don't get emotionally tied in. And Keely's like, how can I, build more team morale? Ted's idea of going to an escape room. And then Keely's like, well, we could do an ayahuasca trip together. I'm like, no, you're not doing an ayahuasca trip with these people. Get out of here. But the
Uh,
snow globes really was the breaker.
yeah.
She's like, well, clearly this company trusts you enough to like ship you off to all these different cities. And there's something where you create more value out of it, like a sentimental value. Like,
Hmm.
here's this lady, Barbara, who's so financially tight. And then she splurges on something.
Hmm.
So Keely's like, that's my in right here.
Hmm.
That's where I could relate to you. Keely's got her Versace shoes and all of her, I'm sure a dope closet of clothes and shoes and everything. But Barbara's the exact opposite, and the rest of these people are the exact opposite. So Keely's keep on trying, like, hey, 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 let's have some fun in the office. And then Barbara's like, no, this is not going to happen. I thought it was funny in the beginning too, when she's like bringing up the whole picnic,
Hmm.
and she's like, Barbara says no before she even knows the date.
Yeah,
And Keely
yeah,
picked up on that.
yeah.
But it's just
well,
like, yeah, I'm not gonna have fun with you. Sorry.
Keely's such a people person, right?
Yeah,
That's her strength. She's very good with people, and for her, this is almost the worst thing to happen to her, being in this office where nobody does anything. She's trying to connect with everyone. Everyone's just like blah. Everyone's just
yeah.
so focused on their work, and she's like, when she's like, "Do anything I wouldn't do," and the guy's like,
What would
what
you
shouldn't
do?
she do?" And even the dynamic with Shandy, right? Shandy's the crazy friend but that's kind of had enough experience to kind of know certain things on the set, right? Shandy knew how to help out to make it seem
Yeah,
more crowded, things like that. But
post
she may
production.
not, which is going to be interesting going forward because she still sends Kitty that text message that's like, yeah, we can put it on the business card. Like, ooh, that's going to can be a bad influence. And I'm curious to see that clash. Even though Barbara accepted it and gave her a title, there's still going to be growing pains, so to speak. I feel.
Keely instantly knows she's like, all right, I'm regretting this right
Yes.
now once she gets the text. But at first, yeah, she thought, here's this go getter. Nobody ever really gave me a chance. I had to build it on my own. And that's what, Shandy's there for. Shandy fine. I used to be a model, never went to any university, have zero experience, but here I am because I have some cool ideas and a nice personality. I loved Shandy's line when she was like, "Where's this girl? Oh, she's married to a footballer. Oh, this girl, married to a footballer. What was your story? I was married to a footballer, and I'm divorced from a footballer, and here I
And you made it on your own. Great.
am."
I did love that. But yeah, I think that's pretty much the main beats of this episode. I want to mention some of the fun moments I had, and if you have any moments that we haven't spoken about, you can throw those in too. I did like once again, I like this show for teasing us but never doing it. Where you always think, wait, are they gonna do the love triangle again? Because you're thinking Jamie's gonna be like, yes, opportunity, go back to Keeley. But no, what I loved is Jamie realized that and thought, let me go and see if Roy's okay. Let me that awkward hug moment. It's like you came in too fast. I was just
Yeah,
trying to see if you're okay. Oh, you want to go back to Keely? Ask my permission. Again, the audience is thinking that, right? So they kind of get that out right out of the way. And he's like, no, I want to see if you're okay. I know what it feels like to be dumped by her. I
yeah,
want to know if you're okay.
yeah.
And I love that seeing that with Jamie.
He's like, "No, I dumped her." It's like, what?
And it's like I can tell they've broken up. How can you tell? Body language.
Yeah. Oh, I did. Isaac's lines were funny too.
So good.
He wants a shoe deal from Keely, but she's like, "What brands?" Like, no, no brands, just one shoes. Like
Right?
that's not how this works.
When Shandy's like, I saw you in the magazine with clothes on. I'm so proud of
Yeah,
you.
yeah. Oh my,
When Jamie's talking to Roy again, and Roy's like, "Don't tell anyone," and then the camera pans over to William, and he's like, "William, don't say a word." I love that
yeah.
moment. Just
He's
like
like, we could be single bubby, single buds, drinking
when
like fish bowls. I think he said there. Yeah,
when Ted tells William, go to my house, my apartment, and grab my mixtape
yeah,
CD.
yeah.
Like, what's a CD?
Yeah. And then he tosses his keys to Coach Beard. Coach Beard's like, already got keys. Don't worry. It's like, oh yeah, of course, you got
uh,
keys to the apartment.
what's an interesting moment, and I think we're going to have more of the narrative going forward, Tim. Beard is still with Jane, who still
Yeah,
finds a relationship with Ted threatening. No, we listeners of our podcast know how Tim and I feel about that relationship. We think it's toxic,
yeah. Of
definitely
course.
toxic.
Well, I've seen personally in my life. I mean, you've been pretty steady from the get. We've been friends a long time, but you and G have been solid. But a lot of my other friends, like the girl in your life really dictates like kind of how you are. And we know Keely's good for Roy, and they're going to get back together. We know it's going to happen, especially with the whole Chelsea epiphany moment and him. Roy can't like breaking through with Trent Krim. Like he's gonna get back with Keely. It's almost certain. But then like we see Jane. No, no, no. Jane's not someone we want around. We don't want our friend being with a girl like Jane. We
No,
want Coach Beard to be fun and find somebody like who really appreciates him and has all a little quirky humor. And like Jane, I mean, she doesn't even respect the relationship with Ted.
right? His
That's a
best
huge
friend.
thing. It's like if that's what you're jealous of, it's like no, that type of girl only wants you for her. She wants everything, and that's not healthy.
No, no,
You need to let your guy like have his fun, especially at work. Like, come on,
right?
like let him do what he's got to do.
Right? Especially
Yeah,
like you succeeded, you had a good game, you just go sign a new player, like there you
sure,
go. And it's like, oh yeah. Now I'm curious to see where that's going. What else did I want to quickly mention? There's one thing I wanted to. Oh, we didn't get we had we don't have a storyline with them. We finally got to see the fans at the pub again this episode.
sure. Yeah,
You know.
Jamie's like the fans aren't gonna like the Zava signing, and then all of a sudden, the fans like, Jamie's definitely gonna be so jealous with it because he's no longer that like the number one.
Superstar, right?
But he's
Yeah.
such a team player now,
Hmm.
that it's gonna work. It's gonna work. But
But I
just
think
more
that's
stuff for him to write about in his book.
what Jamie is worried about, right? Because
Sure,
Jamie was an ego chaser, I am the star kind of person. He's changed from that. He can still
yeah,
recognize that, right? He can still
sure.
recognize that in others, and he's like, "Oh God, we're gonna have someone who was like me come to the team again." We just
Hmm.
had this. We've just been able to come together and create a team, and now we're gonna have this person. And he's kind of unsure about where that is, and I kind of agree with Jamie, right? At least right now,
Absolutely.
right now,
Just like you
he's
said, it may not be a win for Richmond, but we
yeah.
know it's a win for Trim.
Right.
We know it's a win for that book. The book's gonna be fire regardless.
Right. Anything else you want to mention we haven't talked about?
Yeah, I just thought like in the beginning when they were talking about Zava in the office and he's leaving Juventus, his reason for coming to England was that his wife binge watched The Office, and then Ted's like, "Wait, what? Like Pennsylvania?" It's like, "Oh yeah, yeah, you guys had a prequel,
I love
prequel
that.
Office." Yeah, and then when Ted's like reading the table of contents of the football strategy book, and Coach Beard's like so proud. He's finally starting 3 years in, like on page one. He's like, "Yeah, I can't even get past the table of contents." But then casually in conversation, he like says football naturally. He's like, "Oh my god, success!"
Oh my God! So
I
I'm
love that.
thinking.
I love that.
Oh, I
Yeah.
also loved what I wrote it down here. Da, 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 da. Oh, when he's trying to explain to Roy what a Hallmark movie is.
Mm.
It's good, but
Yeah,
it's
because
not.
he said the thing was so unoffensive in the first half. It's like, how many shots did you have? One. And that wasn't even on purpose, right? Right, Danny Rojas? Yeah, that was off to my
My
face.
face.
That's why it was so corny when that was the goal. But look, I mean, hey, it's 1-1. we know that West Ham beat Leicester, so they got their 3 points. We're one match through into the Premier League season. We're getting Zaba. It's going to be chaos, but hopefully Richmond can keep this momentum up.
Yeah, hopefully, and they can stay out of the bottom four, and
No
hopefully with
relegation.
the aims of beating West Ham. What did you nerds, sports nerds, think of this episode? Find us on social media at The Nerdy Bunch. Check out some of our other podcasts. We finished a couple of weeks ago The Last of Us full podcast. So once you watch that show, check that out. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Dave.
My name's English Dave, and this has been a Nerdy Bunch episode of Ted Lasso Season 3, Episode 2. Episode 2? I guess that's right. As always, Tim.
Keep it nerdy.